So hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for Rethinking Student Employer Engagement, what we learned from an experimental career services pilot. Traditional campus recruiting models aren't broken, but for many institutions, they're no longer enough. Student expectations are changing, employee behavior is shifting, and career services teams are being asked to scale impact without disrupting what already works. Today's conversation is about thoughtful experimentation. We're joined by Lauren Bell, MBA Career Services Manager at Georgia Tech Scheller College of Business, who will share how her team tested a new approach to student employer engagement, what prompted it, how they navigated uncertainty, and what they learned along the way. This session isn't about replacing systems or chasing trends. It's about learning how to test new ideas, gain stakeholder buy-in, and adapt with intention. We hope you leave with practical insights you can apply within your own institution. Introducing Lauren. Lauren serves as the MBA Career Services Manager in the Jones Career Center at Georgia Tech Scheller College of Business. In her role, Lauren provides operational leadership for delivery of services and resources, campus recruiting, and employee relations, and strategic initiatives supporting students' career outcomes. With over a decade of professional experience spanning higher education, technology startups, and matchmaking, Lauren brings a creative, relationship-centered, and results-driven approach to her work. She is passionate about building scalable systems, meaningful partnerships, and impactful experiences that connect people, organizations, and opportunities. Lauren holds a Master's of Education in Higher Education Administration and a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. She lives in Atlanta with her husband and three very cute cats. Lauren, I need to see those cats. Send me
I
a
should have had that as my background, pictures of the cats.
right.
Way more important than any of the rest of that.
Man, we do. Um, and then if you haven't met myself, my name is Leander Howard II. I am a career services expert, marketing strategist, and entrepreneur. I am the co-founder and CMO of WriteSea. WriteSea is leading the change of scaling AI career services across higher education. We've partnered with about 50 institutions, went from 0 to 50 institutions in the past 21 months. My personal professional background, I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, graduated from Georgia State University in Atlanta with 2 degrees, one in marketing, one in finance. And I started my first company called Spark Your Resume back in 2020. That's kind of how I got into career services, where we help entry level to C-suite executives transition into new roles within 90 days or less. I've helped people land roles in Amazon, Deloitte, Google, Adobe, thousands of different Fortune 500 companies, and have gained, trust in the career services space for resume optimization, LinkedIn branding, interview coaching, and salary negotiation. I've been featured on a few platforms as well, and I'm also a former D1 football player from Georgia State University. Before we kick things off, I would love to just gain a sense of who's on the call. Give me 1 second. I'll share the poll if I can find it. Here we go. All right, it should pop up on your screen. If you can answer these quick questions so we can just gain a better sense of who's on the call today. So, what best describes your role in higher education? Are you faculty, career services professional, employer, industry partner, university administrator, or other? If you're other, love to put your role in the chat. Next question is, how confident are you that your institution is effectively tracking student career readiness today? So are you very confident, somewhat confident, not confident at all, or we don't currently track this? Which of these risks is your institution most concerned about currently? So low job placement rates, declining employer engagement, dissatisfied alumni, negative student outcomes, or all of the above? Which best describes your current career readiness tracking strategy? So are we using multiple tools, but data is fragmented? We rely on, career services staff manually right now. We've automated some tracking with some technology, or we don't track student career readiness at all. And I would greatly appreciate if everybody can participate on the poll. We're at like a 41% participation currently. It's just a few questions I would love for you all to answer. How open is your institution to leveraging AI or automation in career services? So you're already using it. You're planning to explore, I should say, sorry, 2026. And then interested but unsure how to start and then not currently considering it. And then what is your top priority for improving student career outcomes this year? Is it increasing student engagement, tracking career preparation data, improving employee relationships, enhancing alumni career support, or introducing new tech solutions? And then last but not least, what is your favorite ice cream flavor? Vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. My personal favorite is why I asked, why I put it in the selection is chocolate chip cookie dough. I'm a big fan for chocolate chip cookie dough. So if you want to make Leander happy one day, send me some chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, and I'll put a smile on my face for sure.
Good to know.
All of the above on question seven. I should add all of the above on question seven. I'll do that for the next webinar. You can like all chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate chip cookie dough. Yes, ma'am. Go Panthers, baby. Who said go Panthers? Naisha. Are you from G? Naisha, are you from GSU? Have we met? Am I tripping? Have we met? What's your role? You can put in the chat. What's your role at GSU? Maybe the name is blanking. Maybe I know your face and not the name. I'm trying to think. If not, make sure we connect on LinkedIn. I'm putting my LinkedIn in the chat.
A new friend. That's always exciting.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, I graduated GSU in 2020. So I might know your daughter, Joy. That's crazy. But cool. Thank you all for answering these questions. Now we're going to begin our fireside chat with Lauren, who I'm very excited to chat with. Um, Me and Lauren connected on LinkedIn. I saw she was building something really cool. I think you had made a post about um what you guys were building, and I was like, I looked at the website, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I think this is very unique. I think other career services leaders might want to hear about it. So I reached out to Lauren on LinkedIn. She's grateful enough to accept my invitation to come speak with us today. So I don't take that lightly. I appreciate you spending an hour with us and sharing your wisdom and insights. So my first question for you, Lauren, is from your vantage point at Georgia Tech's College of Business, what were the early signals from students, employers, or internally that told you that traditional engagement model wasn't quite enough anymore?
Yeah, I think there was kind of a few different things kind of happening all at once that kind of led down this path. I think one of the first things was, of course, the job market being tougher. I think, everyone is kind of seeing that, and I'm sure everyone in career services on this call is probably facing more challenging um, recruiting landscape than maybe in the couple of years before, where there was a lot of post-COVID hiring, and so kind of reorienting ourselves to a more challenging market. Our office in the Jones Career Center, we went from serving just our full-time and evening MBAs, and last year we added our executive MBAs. The college added a new program that we absorbed in our office, our master's in management students. And really, our campus recruiting model had been really centers a lot on our full time MBAs. But we had these new populations added, and we realized many of them don't quite fit into that traditional campus recruiting environment where a company is coming with a specific entry level or entry point role, or not coming for some of our students didn't fit into that model, and we had both more inexperienced early career students coming in, and then also some really senior and specialized career pathways in our more experienced evening and executive MBA students who they, when companies were coming to campus, um, they were coming for MBA roles, didn't fit that. So I think the market and also internally taking on new programs were some of the original um, sparks to kind of rethinking how we worked with employers. And then another big kind of spark was so we'd always done resume books for our employer partners, but we also started as we were looking to connect more outside of our set number of companies that were our like really formal partners. We started tapping into our alumni network, and when we started sharing resume books with them, we got some feedback of, I see this resume book. I don't know what to do with it because, it's the MBA resume format is pretty pared down. And so they felt like they didn't have a lot of context to, okay, I see what a student has done before, but I don't see what do they want to do next? What's their story? Where are they looking to go? And so they were like, I could be a lot more helpful as an alumni cheerleader or someone that could connect them into my network if I knew a little bit more of what they were looking for. And we were also hearing that same thing from employers who we started making a lot of employer partners who maybe aren't doing traditional campus recruiting. Maybe they're not looking specifically for MBA students, but they're looking for graduate business students who have a lot of the skills and knowledge that they would like to bring into their company. And they just weren't sure um, how to get connected to our students. And maybe it wasn't during our specific recruiting cycles. Maybe they're looking off cycle, they're looking in the summer, they're looking, at different times throughout the year. And they weren't sure, like, hey, our students looking right now. And we have several, our more experienced students are looking all throughout the year. So just kind of getting a lot of signals from kind of students, employers, alumni, and internally kind of seeing the signals that it was time to think about something different, and it was time to try out something new and see if we could increase our students' success in the job market, and kind of remove some of the barriers that were holding back our employers and our alumni from being able to help our students.
Nice. So from what you just said, I'm thinking traditionally, right? Most employers are connecting with students maybe through 1220 or a handshake. Traditionally,
Mm-hmm.
if they're looking to like they can message them on those platforms or they I guess employers would consider a student interested in a role by applying to a job at that corporation versus okay, now I have this directory of students, right, at Georgia Tech that I know are open to work. I can now
Mm-hmm.
go to this website and filter on students based on their interests, goals, things like that, things of that nature, and then connect with them directly there.
Yes, and another piece of that was kind of removing some of the barriers. So even though the platforms like 1220 and Handshake, we are a 1220 school and
Okay.
really utilize it heavily, but we some of the barriers to that are um, for our alumni. They're like, I want to spread the word about Georgia Tech students, but I don't have a way to just like share a link. Or
Mm,
employers, it's like, hey, some of our employer partners, they have recruiting peers across the company who aren't doing campus recruiting, who maybe don't have an account and who maybe aren't, having to create an account and log into this other place. That might keep them from taking action on seeing the student. And then we also have smaller companies who are like, hey, students may not find their way to us, but we know that we have a lot to offer and we think your students would have a lot to offer us. And so rather than waiting for applications, we want to go out there and source.
I like that. I like that. So my next question is outcomes weren't fully known, right, going into this pilot, right, that you created. How did you personally navigate the uncertainty? right? Especially when communicating with leadership or campus partners.
Yes, and I would say we still are, kind of in this pilot phase where I wouldn't even say that we're months in and in phased launches, and so I don't know that we can even right now, say this is the total impact, but I think we're kind of measuring along the way, and um, it was at the beginning. I would say the first piece of advice on this would be we started off with a brainstorming session with our marketing team.
Okay.
So I had some ideas and some inklings about maybe some of the gaps we had. One of them being, our team and me specifically, we marketing, putting ourselves out there, putting our students out there isn't always the strongest point. We are, building relationships is great, but marketing, thinking about things outside of the box of career services and trying to expand outside of the way we think about things. I think we started off with a brainstorming session with our marketing team, and that really created some initial energy around some of the ideas we talked about. So we were discussing, and I had this idea of like a page that had student profiles. This it wasn't totally reinventing the wheel. There's other schools that do somewhat similar things, but we so it wasn't like I was introducing a totally foreign concept that nobody has
Okay.
ever tried.
Right.
But when we were talking about it, we got buy-in very early from our marketing team, and they saw, hey, there's this page that we use for something totally different, but I can see how if we work together to adapt it and used it for this purpose, so we wouldn't be starting from scratch internally either. We can do this in-house. And we started discussing, and they got us connected with the web development team immediately. And so getting in touch with the right people and getting energy built around this from Scheller's director of marketing, and from my leadership in my office, our executive director and the Jones Career Center, I think that was a good way to get started instead of trying to have this idea, work on it, and then try to get campus partners involved. I think really from early onset doing that. And we used some of the feedback we were getting from our alumni, from our employers. We brought that to that meeting and said, hey, this is what we're hearing. So I think that gave them a really good understanding that it wasn't just an idea out of nowhere. There were some real challenges that we were seeing, and some ways that we can improve. And then I think also being in that uncomfortable space of like, hey, we've added these programs, these services that we want to offer. I think everybody was a little bit in an uncomfortable space and stretching. And so I think, the challenge of that also brought the positive of being more open. We were already uncomfortable. Let's try something new. So I think we had the elements kind of aligned at the right time to get started. And then what's we've been working on this for months, and we've been iterating throughout. So some of it was like being able to start building before it was a perfectly formed idea. We had a lot of phases of like student test profiles to get their feedback and see how they would build this. Some of it was, sharing it internally and getting people's feedback internally, and then soft launching to some of our known employer partners. So I think there was little bits and pieces along the way that we got to build a little bit of traction. That it wasn't this is the perfect idea. Let's build it this way, and it's going to be great. It was, hey, let's get feedback all along the way. Not worry about perfect at the beginning, and know that there's a lot of unknown outcomes here. But get people energized around the challenges we were trying to solve.
Nice. So you had to collab with, of course, career services,
Mm-hmm.
marketing. So you ran about marketing first, coordinated
Mm-hmm.
with career services, and then you also brought in the employer, I guess your strongest employer partners to kind of
Mm-hmm.
test the pilot and kind of flush out the idea of what they would like to see. Because ideally, I would consider them as like their end customer, right? They're the ones
Yeah.
coming to see the directory to connect with the students. So you need their feedback, and that's very important.
Yeah.
What were those conversations like with the employers to kind of help you create the pilot?
Yeah, so we had built quite a bit before we did like a soft launch to them fairly recently, so that it would be usable once they got
Okay.
access. Um, but they had some feedback. The great thing is that it's created a lot of like positive buzz because it is something new and different, and it has I think people could see pretty quickly the value add. And so I think that it wasn't a hard, each piece along the way hasn't been a hard sell because I think people have seen the opportunity in it. There has been there's been some, feature requests from our employer partners that have been really useful. Some things that are probably more like down the road, we can build that functionality right now. We may not be able to. And some of it's like, hey, we can fix that pretty quickly. So some of it has been like, having those known partners who are, and also some alumni who are close to us who are, willing and able to give us really insightful and direct feedback has been a really helpful part of this kind of phased approach. Um, and then another campus partner that we are also working with marketing to market it to our faculty and staff,
Okay.
and also to our alumni relations. So some of their help that has been wonderful too is just like building the messaging so that internally people can then go out and be a cheerleader for this and ultimately a cheerleader for our students to find jobs. So I think really building some internal, having something that they can easily say, here's a link, or it gives them a little lift of like, here's something to post, that's a resource rather than in the past people have maybe reached out to their network and say, hey, is anyone hiring, does anyone have a job, having something that they can say, here's a resource, take a look, um, and have a little bit of um, have that kind of echo and grow from our internal teams outwards has is something that I'm really excited about the way we've approached it.
Now, I like this. Lauren, would you be open? I know that's not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but I think it's a perfect opportunity to kind of just show them what you
Oh,
actually
sure.
built. I sent the link to you in the Zoom chat. If you check your Zoom chat, you should have the link that I got from your LinkedIn post. I would love for you to
Mhm.
share screen and just walk us through actually what you built because you're talking about it, and then it's
Yeah,
all
that's
live.
a really
I would love for people to actually see
sure.
what you actually build and kind of walk us through how it works, what the employers come on here to see. Yeah, and I'll let you take it from there.
Absolutely. Let me share my screen. Um, so again, it is quite simply you share a link and you land here. And it's a directory essentially. It is updated in real time. So we've had over 100 students submit their profiles to be included. We've taken them off as they've accepted jobs. So at any given moment, our employer partners know if they go look here, this is people who are open to working. And then there are filters that they can use to surface the students who kind of fit what they're looking for. So they can filter by years of experience, by program, whether they're looking to hire interns or full time, and then by industry and function.
Mhm.
And so on the back end, as we're building students' profiles, we're tagging all of these things so that it works in coordination with the filters.
Nice. I love that. How did you come up with the filters? Was this based on what employers want to filter on, or is it based on just like internal conversations with career services?
So when we were building the filters, it kind of aligns with how our 1220 system works, as far as how we tag jobs and how students tag what they're interested in there. So it was kind of built that way. We created the list, and then um, so if somebody is interested in like learning more about a candidate, the candidate has the opportunity to share their story, share what experiences they're bringing, what they're looking for, and they can share what have they done most recently, undergrad, industry, function areas, where they want to go location wise, and then it has a resume. They can go directly to a student's LinkedIn. And then they can also connect with a student, and it's like a message form that they can fill out on the website. So
Hmm.
lots of different ways that someone can get in touch. So yeah.
So does when they click on connect with the student, does this take like when they fill out this form, does the student then receive an email saying, "Hey, this employer is looking to connect with you"?
Yes.
How does that kind of work?
So they receive by email the what an employer puts in here. So they so an example would be, hey, I saw your profile. We are hiring consultants and wanted to talk to you about the opportunity. Um, you know, can we schedule a time to connect? So similarly to if a person was sourcing on LinkedIn Recruiter, they can kind of craft a message that gets a candidate's attention and kind of connect from there. It also gives people, the flexibility if they want to connect using contact information on a resume or if they want to connect on LinkedIn. There's, different ways that we wanted to give some flexibility as to how employers really utilize um, the the page as well as how they fit in their sourcing style, how they like to connect with candidates.
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. So I'll get an email from the employer. Do you now have you coached students on how to engage with employers, or does career
Yeah.
services loop into, employers connecting with students, or is it just all on the students to connect with the employer after this message is submitted?
So it is it I would say we generally, when we're providing career coaching, I would say some of it touches on this. I wouldn't say that we've really, and maybe something that we do in the future,
Mhm.
is coaching specifically around how to best be a candidate in this pathway. How to, um, I think as we've done this, some of what we see too is like maybe helping students deliver a more impactful message in their About Me section or how to best respond when someone reaches out. I think there's definitely still some opportunities on the coaching side of this, as well as pretty much all pieces to this. We're kind of learning as we go. But for the most part now, when they receive a message from a potential employer, they are using their best judgment in how they want to respond and how they want to carry forward. I would say also our population is all graduate students, so we probably, if someone's working with you know undergraduate students who maybe haven't been in a job search process before, they might have a little bit different approach to that, or maybe want to have a little more controls on it. But we feel like our students are ready to engage, using their best judgment.
Right. Of course. Yeah, they're more experienced professionals, so they should
Yeah,
you probably give them the benefit of the doubt, like
for
they
the
know
most
how
part.
to communicate with professionals or employers. This is not their first job opportunity. It's not an
It's not
internship.
their first rodeo. Yeah, they
Not their first rodeo. So that makes total sense. Have you I know you're in the MBA side of things, but has this been explored in the undergrad side of things at Georgia Tech School of Business as well, or no?
yeah.
I know we might
So
have some undergrad people on the call as well. So
yeah, so not specifically
okay.
to as far as I know. I know we are also lucky in the sense that of our volume of students and like our kind of hands-on um, approach. We kind of I think we were at a little bit of an advantage of getting started with this, that um, we it's not the Georgia Tech's 50,000 students. It's
All right,
just
all
our
right.
900 students. So that's probably part of it. I do know after I first started spreading the word, like posting about this, and like we started like sharing about it, we definitely had some other graduate programs, um, you know, tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, how did you do this? And who did you get in contact with to get this started?" I wouldn't be surprised if other groups start testing this out for themselves as well. Um, like I said, I think there's some factors that make us a little bit at an advantage of how we got started, but definitely think it's something that can be replicated for other departments on campus and then at other campuses as well.
Yeah, I would love to kind of dive. more into like the operational side of
Mhm.
like actually how you built this, right? So if you don't mind sharing, like, is it a form on the back end that students are filling out? Like, is it a certain, like a specific platform, Google form, Jot form?
Yeah.
What are you using on the back end to kind of get students to fill out this application? And then also, how, like, what's the go-to-market strategy on how are you getting students engaged in wanting to fill out the form to be on the directory?
Yeah, so the first part of that of like how students submit their profiles is it's simply a Qualtrics form.
Okay, so
So
Qualtrics.
it's pretty simple for them. They just go to, click a link and go to a survey, and fill things in there and attach things there. It is fairly manual on our side of actually putting it into the content management system
Okay,
of our website.
gotcha.
How we rolled it out to students. Um, well, first we did a test group with some of our MBA students to actually like when we were building out the profiles, we had them test out like how they would fill it out, how they would test out the forms, and we made some adjustments from that test group. And then for each population that we rolled it out to, we did a phased approach. We I worked with our career coaches who are aligned by program. They helped me craft the message to each group when rolling it out. So we by email, and there were some nuances between each group of how to roll it out to them, what tips to include, what reminders. This is a public facing page. Some of our evening or executive MBAs are working professionals, and if they are uncomfortable with their own company potentially coming onto this site, they may not want to be that
True,
public in their job search.
true.
Um, we started off with our full-time MBAs because they are in a they are already very engaged in the recruiting process, and they are all looking. None of them are currently full-time employed, so they don't have
Right.
as many inhibitions about
Yeah, right, right.
putting themselves out there.
Everybody's
And then
welcome.
yeah, they're like, you could, we could put a poster on the street and whoever passes by can, contact me. So we started there and then having something to show students what it's going to look like, what to expect. We kind of had some test profiles that didn't have any attached like personal information so that we could screenshot, hey, this is what it's going to look like when when this comes to life. Like you're gonna
Right.
have, and part of it was like it's going to be our first group that submitted their profiles. It was a couple of months before the page was actually live and visible to them. So some of it was actually hoping that they bought into to jumping into this opportunity that they didn't quite know what was going to look like. And
Mm.
some of it was little level setting expectations of we're trying this new thing. You may or may not get outreach from an employer. We want this new channel to be a great asset to you, but level setting that hey,
We don't know what to
we don't
expect.
have any data to show you that
Right.
this will be
Yeah.
a great thing for you to jump into. So some of it was you know we understand that maybe not everyone has. There's probably quite a few students who are actively searching who this wasn't the right fit either for the amount of public facing information, or it wasn't the right fit because they want to see how it kind of pans out for people a little bit before they, sign up. So thankfully, we've had over 100 students participate so far. We've already pared down some of that just from people accepting roles and no longer needing to be actively job searching, which is a great reason to, um, you know, happy to
Yeah.
remove you in that case.
Right. That's
So,
the
or
goal, right?
some of our students saying, I submitted my profile, but now I'm thinking, I'm not sure that I want my current employer to see this. So can you take it down? So we're always like, it's very real time, responsive to the changing needs of students as well.
Nice. I like that. Now, with your background, in matchmaking and relationship centered work, how did you think about scale, right?
Mhm.
While still preserving meaningful student employer connections?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. When I worked in matchmaking, I worked for kind of a boutique like white glove service matchmaking.
Mm.
And a lot of times the question would be like, I can go on dating apps. I can go search for someone on my own. Like, why would I use this service? And I think this is kind of similar to what drives why it's valuable to have a channel like this. And I think it's like putting the right people in the right place at the right time. It's a noisy job market, just like it's a noisy dating market when you're using dating apps. I think we Georgia Tech, we have a good reputation. So I think
100%.
employers, so like,
Amazing, amazing
we're
reputation.
lucky in that way of like, I don't take for granted that I work at an institution where, people, when people see Georgia Tech next to a student's name, that's a positive
Yeah.
um,
Prestige University.
impression. So I think part of it is people do want to, take a look at what kind of talent we have in our talent pool. And so I think getting the right, um, it's a place where people can say, as opposed to LinkedIn where you have everybody in front of you, this is a place where, okay, I'm interested in people of this skill level, this caliber of education. I'm interested in seeing candidates based in Atlanta. I mean, we are lucky to be surrounded by a lot of Atlanta companies that have great opportunities. So I think some of it is just getting the right people into the right place in the easiest way possible so that they can then form true connections. I think this is a channel that makes it more efficient. It makes it scalable. It makes it so that, there's value in employers coming to campus, but, all of our different programs are on different schedules. Our students are looking for jobs at different times in the year.
True.
Meeting in person as a first impression is not always possible, but this gives a kind of a scalable way that people can make that initial connection. And then we hope that the real magic happens once they make that initial connection. They can schedule time or they can, find out more about each other. It's kind of like, instead of two ships passing in the night, they're like finding each other. So um, the real goal is that it's a streamlined place to make those
Nice.
connections.
I love it. I think it's a phenomenal idea. I think it gives me a lot more info. Like I was thinking about, if I was an employer, looking at Georgia Tech MBA students on LinkedIn, I could always go
Mhm.
source for them on LinkedIn, but your directory just gives me a lot more information, right?
Yeah.
They want to be located, what their about me section. I'm looking at I'm looking at the profiles now, like their career goals, right?
Mhm.
What industries they're looking for, job functions, preferred locations, right? It just gives me a lot more like a personal touch to like get
Yeah.
to know more about the candidate before I actually want to connect with them. Just a little more information than what a LinkedIn will provide. So I commend you on doing this. We do have a question from um, Stephanie Reyes. So, how many staff members are reaching out to employers to get them to check out the student directory and managing the student profiles that are being submitted, getting them on the site? She was like, "Is this one staff member? Is that just you, or is it a mixture
Yeah.
of um, responsibilities?"
Yeah, so I would say at no point is this just me. It definitely has been team efforts all around. Um, on the side of employers, so we have a team of our career coaches are also corporate relations managers, and they have kind of a book of employer partners that they work with. And so when we did our first soft launch at the end of fall semester, when I kind of created some copy that our corporate relations managers could use to reach out to their employers. So it gave them a little bit of guidance and confidence to reach out. But they were the ones who went and talked to their partners who they thought would be that they could either give really valuable feedback or could really utilize this at the time. Also, our alumni relations director, she reached out to her alumni. She has like groups of active alumni that she reaches out to. So there were other people who were going and spreading the word to the employer and alumni side of this. And then we also have some like other phases of our launch coming up in the next couple of weeks that will kind of further amplify. On the actual adding of profiles, we are web development team trained myself and two of our graduate assistants in our office on how to do this and gave us access to the back end of the website to be able to add these. So it is a manual thing that when I have graduate assistants available, they definitely take some of the lift of adding these in. And then um, I do a lot of it as well. And when it came time to like roll out to students to have them submit their profiles, it's been email campaigns that have come from me, but have been utilizing feedback from the coaches that work with those programs on like how to message it.
Nice. I like that. Thank you, Stephanie, for that question. Are there any other questions before I ask my final one or maybe two questions? I want to make sure I take some from the audience. You can put your questions in the Q&A chat, and we'll answer them in the next 5 to 10 minutes before we wrap up. We got 15 minutes left. Hopefully this has been valuable. If this has been valuable, put a yes in the chat. Thank you, Lauren, again for joining. I was really impressed when I saw the directory, and I don't think I've seen it across any other institution that I've known currently that
Yeah,
I've.
thank you so much. Thank you. It's been it's taken a lot of work for several months. So when people notice, it really
Oh
means a
yeah.
lot to get some to get the feedback.
Kudos.
So thank you.
Yeah, kudos to you. That question though about Georgia Tech, so like not every institution is a Georgia Tech, of course. So what lessons from this pilot do you believe are most transferable across different institutional sizes, resources, or student populations?
Yeah, so I think probably some of the things that are definitely transferable is I would say part of what bubbled up this idea was, I had worked outside of higher ed and had worked in kind of talent sourcing marketplace products before. And so the idea of talking to employers about how they source candidates versus how outside of just applications probably helped shape the kind of this idea. I think maybe sometimes looking outside of higher ed or looking outside of the current models and seeing if there's ideas that you can pick up from industry. I would say two is working with your campus partners from the very beginning. So, um, you know, for us, that meant working with marketing and also working with our alumni relations, getting their feedback and insight. And then I think also is not everything has to, like, sometimes there are opportunities to build things in house that you might be afraid to ask for that kind of lift because there is work involved and you're like afraid to put a project on someone else's desk. But finding ways that, like, I mean, did I have, you know, asking how you can help provide some lift of that, being willing to do some tasks outside of your usual scope that provide the lift has definitely gone a long way. And then, so I think, I think that I was very grateful that we found a way to do this in house instead of having to like, oh, we have this idea and having to go then put like money. Having to like get budget towards it would have probably also been a challenge. And we were very lucky that we had a team willing to do that in house and willing to let me have have me and my DRAs have access to the website and trust us that there's some they have some measures to make sure we don't do anything crazy. So they didn't give us it's not like we can go change everything on the website, but they
Limited
did give us
access.
some leeway. Yeah, they gave us some leeway to do some work that really helped. But I think there are bits and pieces of this that are definitely transferable. And like I said, we didn't reinvent the wheel totally. There's bits and pieces of this that are present at
Of
other
course.
campuses. But yeah, I think if anybody has any specific questions or wants to connect one on one, at another time, I'd totally happy to dive into all the details if anyone's interested.
Yes, we put your information in the chat. Make sure you
For
all
sure.
connect on LinkedIn. I put our email in there if you want to reach out. We'll also be creating a recap of this. So we'll put this on YouTube. We'll write a whole blog, dissecting what you talked about today, the
Mhm.
takeaways that we'll probably send out sometime next week in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, you're missing out on weekly content every Thursday. Zaki is actually on the webinar. That's the person that's actually writing all the content for the newsletter. So shout out to Zaki. She's been doing a great job the past year helping me with that initiative that we started in 2025. If you are getting a newsletter, we'd love some feedback. Reply to the newsletter. Let us know you're gaining value from the newsletter, things of that nature. We always like to get feedback about the things we're putting out. We're just trying to help people be better at their jobs, right? That's why Lauren is here today, sharing her insights. And if you're actually interested in being on a webinar, like being in Lauren's position, taking requests. I'll be sending out an email probably either next week or early February. With an announcement that I'm looking for guests, right? So I have some webinars coming up in February that I'm looking for a guest for within like in the next month. And then I just got a submission yesterday for someone that's looking to do something in April. So February, March. The only one that's not available right now is April. So we got about 10 more webinars needed to schedule. So I'm looking for a guest. If you know anybody, that would be great. Okay, Cindy, bet I will send you the application to fill out. Actually, let me yeah, I'll send it to you later, Cindy. Um to fill out. That'll be great if you can fill out the request. I'll review it and then we can just schedule a call later on to kind of talk about what you want to discuss. Perfect. Thank you for dropping your email in the chat. I will reach out as soon as this webinar is over to get you scheduled. But yes, thank you everybody for joining. Lauren, did you have any last thoughts you want to leave before I go into just closing remarks?
Think so. Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun having this conversation, and
Yes,
like I
ma'am.
said, this has been fresh on my mind for many months. So having a chance to just
Talk
talk through
about it.
it, talk
Yep.
about it, I'm like, I have been thinking about it a lot. So it's really nice to share a little bit about it, and very much appreciate the invitation to be here.
Nah, we appreciate you joining. We couldn't do it without you, of course. Keep innovating. Add entrepreneur to your resume.
I love that word. I think that's such a good word, and yeah, I'll take that to heart.
Yes. Most definitely add that to your resume. You most definitely did some great things with the directory that you built. I was really impressed when you posted on LinkedIn. So thank
Thank
you
you.
for doing that. And if you haven't heard about WriteSea or not familiar with what we do, we're an AI career services platform. Would love to learn more about your institution, about how you're growing, scaling career services across campus. We actually just released our first ever self-service template builder and resume review engine. Happy to share our product videos for that in the chat when I get to. Let me pull that up really quickly. So pretty much with our resume template builder and our resume review engine, career services teams now control what the resume templates look like. And then you also can control the parameters of how students' resumes are scored based on parameters that we've created for you. So that you can select whether it's a 1 point, 3 points, or 5 point score for every single parameter in the resume review. So now you can really scale your resume reviews now with WriteSea in a sense. And I'm going to drop the product video here in the chat so you can check it out. It's like a 2 minute video to kind of give you an overview of what the resume template builder is and the resume review engine. So yeah, please check that out when you get a chance. Happy to schedule demos as well. We usually take about an hour for demos just to go through the product. And then we also understand that like career services aren't always the person that has the budget. So, but when institutions adopt RightSeed, we usually go to leadership that can be anywhere from like a dean or above to actually get budget. But they will not buy RightSeed if career services doesn't think they need it, right? So we have to have buy-in from both parties, and so that's why you're important. So sometimes directors of career services do have budget, which is great, and then other times they might not have budget to where they have to get leadership involved to actually fund the initiative. So but we understand both parties are important. So don't think, hey, just because I don't have the money, I shouldn't take a demo. No, you should most definitely take a demo, and then we can work out the kinks on how to get to leadership. I have scheduled a demo, but am still unable to access RightSea. Casey, let so you when did you schedule a demo, Casey? Are you able to come on? Let me see. And then I also have our product showcase that I will drop in the chat as well. So it's actually not listed. You scheduled it in early December. Oh, you go to Texas Southern. So yes, so Texas Southern is already a client. So you will, I'll reach out to you, Casey. If you want to schedule a meeting with me personally, I'm happy to kind of walk you through the platform and get you access to the tool. Here's my email, Casey. If you can email me, that'll be great, and we can get you access. Perfect. But yes, so I just dropped the RightSea product innovation in the chat. That was our um, product showcase for 2025 to showcase like how the resume template builder works in more detail. So we have a product video on YouTube that's 2 minutes, just like a marketing video to get you excited about it. You should understand what it is. But if you want to go in detail, like see a demo of the resume review engine and the resume template builder, the product showcase is a great 45-minute session going over in detail what we've built to help career services teams create their own resume templates, while also controlling the scoring of every resume review for students. And then last but not least, after the webinar, you'll receive, like, as soon as you log out, you'll receive a survey. It takes 30 seconds to a minute to complete. It's pretty much all multiple choice. If you could I would greatly appreciate if you can complete that just to give me more insights about how you felt about the webinar. And then additional questions about interest in career services tools. Thank you all for joining. If there's no other questions, comments, or concerns, I will oh, okay, I did get your email, Casey, and I sent it to the product team. So they should be reaching out soon. So you're a student. Okay. I sent it to the product team to help you get access, Casey. Um, let me check on this because I should be able to give you access if you don't already have access. Okay. And then if you love to connect with me, that's my phone number, email, and then connect with RightSea on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, where we post content every week, and then subscribe to the newsletter. Thank you again, Lauren, for joining. I'll be in touch with you
Thank you.
about the
Yeah,
recap. I'll send you the recap blog page and stuff once that's live. Or you can share it across your Georgia Tech network and any other career
awesome.
services professionals that you think will, get value from this conversation. Thank you all again for joining. My name is Leander Howard II. I'm the co-founder and CMO of RightSea, and we'll see you guys on the next webinar.
Thank you so much. See ya.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.